Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. The last time we spoke on Jake, we predicted accurately that he'll be fighting Chavez. Now it's 4 weeks out, MVP just dropped a new video building up to the fight. So let's see what it is. We'll make our comments as we go along. Of course, I have Jake to win. I think truly this should be a fight that should get Jake a WBA ranking. Somebody wanted to make this a world title fight. I don't know why Jake didn't do it. Let me see where it was. They talked about it a few years ago, and I don't know why it wasn't given. Yeah, this, yeah, it was around last year. The WBA spoke about it. Uh, you see that? I would love to see Jake Paul versus JC Chavez for a championship. This was 2024. So really, this fight could have been for a world title or for some kind of title anyway, maybe an international title. So, I mean, what are we talking about? So what I'm saying is basically, since this fight is not for a world title, Jake should at least get a ranking. So he isn't ranked as we speak. So that's unfortunate. So let's go.
Holes in his game, so I do think we can see an early knockout.
All right, Jake. You said that this is going to be your best performance to date. Why do you say that?
I say that because styles make fights, and Chavez is a come-forward fighter who keeps his hands up, which opens up a lot of holes for me to hit him. And
So it means that he will try to go for the body, which could work. Chavez is a lot smaller, so that should be to his advantage.
the way our styles match up, he's just gonna get picked apart. And I haven't really been able to showcase my full new skill set to the world in a couple of fights. Mike Perry is just like sloppy, so I had to pick him apart. Tyson, I just didn't want to get hit by one of his massive shots, so I had to just be careful. This fight is just going to be an offensive war.
Offensive war. I guess he wants to just dominate and maybe get him out in 4 or 5 rounds. That should be quite easy to do. That's why I have Jake for the fight.
Yeah, for sure. So how did the Julio Chavez Jr. fight come to be?
Well, basically, we've been wanting to fight him for a while, and when the other Mexican pussied out, he was sort of the next one on the list, and he agreed to do it. I agreed to do it. It's a good fight. Former world champion, professional boxer, 50-something fights, 30-something knockouts, and he's a very, very tough opponent, and at this point in my career, it's just a really good fight.
So is that why he was on the Perry undercard, so you guys could like square him up? Because that was his first fight after being gone for a while, right?
Yeah, we wanted him to get some activity in and get a good fight against Uriah Hall, size him up, build him up as an opponent, and then take him out. That's sort of the game plan, MVP game plan.
Do you think?
Whew. Two Raris. But yeah, speaking of the fight with your Hall, I didn't really see it, and I guess it didn't make that much headlines. But normally, you should knock out a professional UFC fighter, shouldn't you? So that's why Jake has the win.
Think that Chavez will be your toughest fight to date?
Do I think Chavez will be the toughest fight to date? I think it very much could be. They say he's training hard. His father said he's the most impressed with his training camp that he's ever been. And he's a very, very tough guy. But I also know what I'm capable of, and I see a lot of holes in his game. So I do think we can see an early knockout. I believe I'm going to catch him because he has a lot of defensive openings. Very flat-footed, very square. So it could be tough, or it could be an easy night.
What does Chavez Jr. bring that's different from your recent opponents like Tyson, Perry, Borland, and August?
Chavez is definitely the most experienced fighter I've fought to date, and he has his youth.
Wait a minute. Is that true? How many fights does Mike Tyson have? Mike Tyson, 50-6, right? That was his record. So 50-7. So waiting for Jake. So let's see. JC Chavez. Wow. 62 fights is my experience. Crazy. So 54 wins, 60 losses. 6 losses. He is more experienced than Floyd Mayweather. That's crazy.
Still, and he basically knows that this is do or die for him. I can ruin his whole entire legacy, even his dad's legacy, in this fight by embarrassing them and doing something that no one else could. And he can also make his legacy come to a conclusion by beating the YouTuber Disney kid and getting me out of the sport of boxing.
Jake. Jake is just too clever. He's just too intelligent. One, he's destroying the entire legacy of JC Chavez if he wins. But on the B side, if he loses, JC Chavez just beats up a Disney kid. Too clever. And that's how you get things like this when you're intelligent.
What do you think is like your most expensive art piece in here?
I mean, my most expensive art piece is definitely the astronaut. I don't even want to say how much it was, but inside the house, I guess you could consider the fish tank a piece of art. That was $250,000. What else is expensive? This.
what is going on? Obviously, I was rooting for Jake, and I was happy with the split decision because definitely one of the judges said, yeah, Jake won. So I was really aligned with that judge. But watching the fight objectively, Jake barely won 2 rounds, barely, barely. So that is a little bit of a domination, let's call it. That's a little bit of outclassing type of thing. So my wonder is, has Jake in the last 2 years, almost three, has he done enough within that time to bridge that gap? Obviously, Tommy Fury hasn't gotten better. He claims that he has treated his hand, he's over his injury, he's back with his misses. He went to the fight in Hungary, so he feels the best. He called Jake Paul out after he won that fight. So I think it would be a good fight to make. The only problem, and I would call this Jake's mistake, was that he played too much into the Tommy Fury game, right? Tommy Fury wasted 2 years of Jake's life. He got into his head with the delays and, oh, I can't find my plane, I can't find my ticket, I can't find my visa. Tommy did those things on purpose and waited until that time, 2023, to do the fight. So honestly, I would say that Jake's mistake was even fighting Tommy after Tommy pulled out twice. Like when someone pulls out against you twice, just take that as a W, declare to the world that he's ducking, he doesn't know how to get a visa, and move on. Because they were supposed to fight at MSG, for God's sake. And I know in my heart, it's too late now, but I know in my heart that if Jake had fought Tommy in 2021 or 2022, Jake would have won. So those two incidents prevented Jake from winning. They got in his head. But I worry now that if Jake goes back in and something stupid happens, you know what I mean? I, but obviously, I'll be rooting 1000% for Jake. Is it true? Is it possible that Tommy's background, his mastery of the basics, the fact that he's been doing this for a very long time as a young child, could those things have an imprinted advantage over Jake? It's possible because if you look at the fight, Jake was just swinging. If you look at that first fight, he was just swinging, hoping to catch Tommy, and Tommy knew exactly what to do when fighting someone like that. So, has Jake overcome those deficiencies within these 2 years, three, maybe? But the only way I can see that fight happening or that fight being worth it, is if Jake knocks him out.
All Tommy has is me, but I do want to make the rematch happen, and
Like that gap. Yes, he's had 2 more years of experience in fighting camps, fighting camps. Tommy has had only one fight in that time period. But Tommy also has an extensive amateur background growing up doing this. So it's inherent. You can see it in Tommy's body. You can see that this person is a boxer. This person is a fighter because it's trained in him from a very young age. Can Jake rely on those 2 years to catch up to Tommy Fury? Can he do that? I'm not sure. I'm not sure that he can. But I always back Jake.
This is Chef E. My amazing actually
Yeah.
change much versus every year that goes by, I can increase exponentially. This
Who's this?
is Chef E. My amazing nutritionist, and he gives me food in my mouth. He puts it in my mouth.
I do put it in your mouth.
And that's my guy.
What we do here is go
Yeah, this is
back,
probably the
back, back,
sexiest
back,
part of the
back, back,
house.
back, back.
This is probably the number one collector piece. This thing is rare.
It's right hand drive. You imported it then.
Yeah, this is from Japan.
What's above us? Ford what?
This is a 1958 Ford Fairlane. But yeah, these are all just rare pieces. We got the mini G-Wagon, the Cyber Beast, Tri-Motor, 1,000 horsepower TRX.
All right. So what fights do you ideally want after Chavez?
After Chavez, I think Gervonta Davis, Anthony Joshua, KSI, Tommy Fury, Ryan Garcia, Badu Jack. It was pretty hefty list.
Tell us about the path that Jake Paul is on towards becoming a world champion.
Man, just the path I'm on to becoming world champion is very close. I feel like we're at the end of that path where it's going to be time very, very shortly. I believe that I'm at the level of these guys that can give these world champions a run for the win. I think it's going to happen sooner than we think. And I think Badu Jack is the person to go after for that.
You had this whole thing with Canelo, and then he backed down. We talked about it a bunch. Then he just had his fight in New York, and there was a
Or
lot
Dubai
in Saudi.
Yeah.
And then that was super disappointing for people. People weren't like super stoked on that. Talk about this. Like talk to people again about like what happened. How you feeling now?
Yeah, I think it's just a question of like who actually is the face of boxing. Who's giving their fans what they want. Who's putting on exciting fights around the globe that everyone wants to tune in for no matter who they're fighting. And I don't know if Canelo has that power anymore. And no one even knew about that fight, watched it. It was a complete flop. And it was a terrible, boring fight where he had a terrible performance. So,
Do you think he's gonna sign a fight with you after he's done with the Saudis?
who knows? Who knows with these guys? They say they want to fight, but even Terrence Crawford was like, I need 200 million to do it.
Last year with traditional boxers with great records and accolades. You stopped them both in the first round. What did those fights each teach?
Yeah, Andre August and Ryan Borland. Crazy. Positive record, 17 and 2. Who was the other one? I think 17 and 2 was Ryan Borland. Andre August was 11 and 1. Something like that. Crazy.
You?
I think it just shows the level I'm on and that I'm ready for the serious opponents in the game, like Anthony Joshua, like a Badu Jack, and I'm ready to challenge myself more. And that even someone who's 18 and whatever, 10 and 0 or 12 and 0, they can only be in there for 2 minutes with me. So I'm just ready to challenge myself more, and that's what this Chavez fight's about.
If you had to assign one of these cars in your collection to your fighting style, which car best describes your fighting
Oh,
style?
that's a good question. Damn. I would say the Ram, the Dodge Ram.
Yeah. Why? Because it's got speed?
Well,
How many
it's
horsepower?
big.
1,000 horsepower?
It's 1,000 horsepower, but it's big, it's fast, all metal bumpers all the way around. It's loud, it's proud, and it's fucking American made, baby. Damn, I just cut a promo for them.
So tune in June 28th. It's not far away anymore. Yeah, I'm excited. We'll look at the undercard, see what else is there. But yeah, Jake all the way, man. Thank you guys so much for watching. Like, subscribe, leave a comment down, and I'll see you in the next one.